So, picture this. You're just trying to enjoy a quiet Tuesday, minding your own business, when you find an envelope stuck to your door that basically accuses you of being some kind of backyard criminal mastermind. I'm not kidding. A cease and desist for a storage shed and a patch of tomatoes that weren't bothering a single soul. But the kicker? The evidence they sent included high-resolution photos that were physically impossible to take unless the person was standing like 15 feet deep inside my own private property, probably stepping on my prize hydrangeas to get the right angle. When I reached out to the HOA president, a woman who's been treating our suburban neighborhood like her own personal police state for years, to ask, "Hey, how exactly did you get these shots?" She told me to stop questioning the process and just pay up. That's when I realized she didn't want compliance. She wanted a power trip. And that's exactly when I decided I was done playing nice. See, I work in IT, but photography? My house sits way back from the road, tucked behind a long, winding gravel driveway and thick, mature hedges. It's supposed to be our private little sanctuary. To get those angles, you'd have to be standing right by my back patio, peering through the very trees that are supposed to offer us privacy. I started walking my property line, flashlight in hand, and that's when the reality of it hit me in the gut. I found footprints in the fresh mulch, deep, deliberate, and entirely unauthorized. And then the smoking gun, a black lens cap, just sitting there in the grass like some calling card from a clumsy burglar. It was for a high-end camera, the exact kind you need to take the evidence they were throwing at me. I could have just called them up and started shouting match, but my dad always said if someone's digging a hole, don't stop them. Just make sure they keep digging until they hit rock bottom. I sent a polite, slightly confused email asking about the vantage points of these photos, and she took the bait, snapping back that my questions were irrelevant. Oh, she had no idea. My wife and I decided to lean into it. We didn't just want to prove she was wrong. We wanted to catch her red-handed. I ordered some high-end trail cameras, the kind hunters used to track deer in the middle of the night, and set them up in the trees. Then, for good measure, I built a brand-new herb garden right near the fence, using bright white cedar boards that practically screamed, "Hey, look at me." I turned my backyard into a honeypot, and then I just waited. It didn't take long. 4 days later, my phone started pinging with motion alerts. There she was, the self-appointed guardian of our property values, hopping over my fence like it was a playground. I sat in my office watching the live feed, my jaw practically on the floor as I watched her move my potted plants around just to get a better angle and actually try the handle on our back sliding door. It was chilling. This wasn't just some nosy neighbor anymore. She was prowling around my home, touching our stuff, looking into our windows. But you know what? A sense of calm actually washed over me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was empowered. I didn't call the police right then. I called the non-emergency line, reported a suspicious person, and handed them the footage. Now, I had a paper trail. I had a police report, and I had a front row seat to her downfall. I spent the next week like a lawyer preparing for a closing argument. I hired a pro surveyor to prove my structures were perfectly legal, and I had a tech-savvy friend pull the metadata from her photos to prove they were taken at the exact timestamp she was caught on my hidden cameras. By the time the board meeting arrived, I was ready to drop the hammer. The community center was packed. People love a good spectacle, and she sat at the front, all smug and professional, ready to humiliate me. She went through her little presentation, showing off the violations like she was presenting a winning case in court. I sat there, nodding along, letting her dig that hole just a little bit deeper. When it was my turn, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I pulled up the survey, I showed the metadata, and then I dropped the video. The room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. When she saw herself on the big screen, hopping over my fence and try my door, the color drained right out of her face. She tried to stammer out some excuse about investigative authority, but the silence of the room was her judge and jury. I didn't just win. I laid out my terms. All violations dropped. A new privacy fence paid for by the association, ironclad policies against trespassing, and her immediate resignation. When she threatened to sue me for defamation, I just smiled and pointed to the police report on the table. Watching her realize that her authority was just a paper tiger was probably the most satisfying moment of my life. The fence went up within 2 weeks, and it's beautiful, honestly. Cedar, 6 feet high, built to last. The best part? The former president still hangs around the sidewalk sometimes, pacing back and forth with binoculars like she's trying to spot a weed from a block away. It's pathetic, really. I walked out to the fence the other day and just waved. She didn't know where to look. So here's the thing that gets me, and it's what I keep thinking about. At what point does maintaining standards become an excuse for violating the basic human right to privacy? Is your home truly your castle if someone could just hop the fence because they don't like the way your tomatoes are growing? I'd love to hear what you guys think. Has anyone else had an HOA board member turn into a backyard stalker? Are there any lines you've had to draw in the sand? Or am I just the only one who decided to fight fire with a trail camera and a lot of patience? Drop a comment below and let me know. Is it ever worth the headache to take on the authorities in your own neighborhood? Or is it better to just keep your head down and hope they don't notice you? Let's talk about it.